Exactly.
Ah, española.
Mexicana.
Mexicana, qué bueno, ¿eh? Bueno, te quica, oye.
One day I was playing and an old lady put some money in my case, and she came to me while I was still singing, and she said, well, at least you're doing something, you're not just begging.
John, his family was driving, and he suddenly looked in his mirror and noticed smoke coming out of the vents.
Pulled off the side of the road and opened the back doors, and there was a little fire in there. It wasn't very big, but I couldn't get it out, and it took off. So I start throwing things, you know, I had all my gear in there and everything, musical equipment, juggling show, the whole business, clothes, everything. I start throwing everything out. Things are burning as I'm throwing them out, so they're burning out there anyway. All burned that aluminum roof off. It busted through to the front. It burned the whole truck out. Yeah, I was pretty standing on the side of the road. No money, no shoes, no nothing. I'm driving in my slippers. I'm standing there on the side of the road in a pair of slippers. No clothes, no shoes. That was pretty funny. That was pretty devastating, you might say.
You know, there was a big exhibition last summer in London of Matisse and Picasso. Fantastic exhibition. And all his works, you know, from earliest times. I used to hang out with a lot of guys from the Regional College of Art in Manchester, you know, I lived, right? They were abstract expressionists, you know, these days, they called it. My busking career, I started like that, with painting on the pavement. I could live anywhere by doing this art, you know. Of course, and then I was independent, and I realised I had my freedom.
I did introduce a few species of busker into Norway.
Lawrence couldn't keep it, because normally people, buskers, we called it the golden pitch. We will never tell the other where is the golden pitch, you know, where you make the most. But Lawrence was a very social guy, you know, he couldn't hold it anymore. So he had to say, hey, but why don't you come to Norway? So we all said, why Norway? And he says, man, it's beautiful there, you know, it's great, you do all right, you know, beautiful girls, everything is for you. That was the beginning of this particular group of ours. And it started with partying every night with a line of Volkswagen cars going from a place to a place, you know.
Vi reiste opp til Norge, sakte men sikkert, gjennom Tyskland og Danmark og i konvoi da. En sånn rad med diverse bobiler. Hadde vannpistolkrig og sånt nå i 120 km i timen på motorveien. Det var fryktelig gøy. Veldig fine tider som... Det var gode barndomsminner, altså.
We all had a great time. I mean, everybody was making a lot of money. And we found Songs Van, a place to stay. From that point, everybody and more people started to come up to Oslo, and it became a regular 20 or 30 people, I suppose, who were all around that scene. And those were the golden years of busking in Europe for me.
I was born in 1936 in a place called Stettin in Poland. I can remember bombings in the war, you know, planes flying overhead, and we used to stand up there. And they get the lights on them, you know, and they, you know, shoot them down, you know. To see a whole town burning, you know, and people dying, and just total insanity to me, you know, just nothing made sense, you know, just, you know. because it got so bad, the bombing, you know, we were put in a school, you know. I mean, I was 5 years old, and so I went to boarding school, you know, and kind of, fuck, man, that was just horrible, you know. And it was like a prison, or whatever, you know. And I mean, it was kind of Nazi mentality at that time, you know. And people did really crazy fucking things, you know. I can remember, I mean, my introduction when I arrived, you know, was the initiation ceremony I had to go through, you know. And so, you know, you had to, they had old towels, you know, with big knot tied on the end, and they were wet, you know. And they'd be beating the shit out of you, and you had to walk through that, you know. If you start running, back to the start, and you get more, you know, like that. Like that. Anyway, so, you know, and that kind of made me hate those people, or, you know, fuck you assholes, you know, like, yeah. It's, yeah, I've kept away from people lots of times, you know, it just didn't make sense to me, and couldn't figure out how they'd be like that, and yeah, you have to learn well, you had no choice, you had to learn to cope with it, you know, and that was it.
Alex is a genius. He's very, very clever, very intelligent, very skilled with his hands, and he took together these bits and pieces and made this whole person, a live person.
And of course we all have this troubadour festival at Beitestollen, which started 20 years ago now, I think the first one. And then we took it up to Beitestollen, where in the future it became to be a regular annual event with as much as 30 performers every year.
Utifra de festivalene så har det oppstått et eget miljø. Helt klart oppstått mye sterkere bånd mellom gateartistene.
Some of these people I only see once a year or once every 2 years for a couple of days, but I feel much closer to them, and I trust them, you know, totally. I don't know if we really need each other, but it sure is a comforting thought that there's other people out there kind of doing the same things, and it's kind of like a breath of fresh air when we run across each other.
It's like having a big family, and it's like seeing relatives and close friends and link up with them, and it's coming home, more or less.
Before we fade into the vast backcloth of eternity, we may have at least one more really good troubadour treff.
You know that standing in some lonely crowd, There's a man who swears he's not to blame. All on a long day he is crying out loud, trying to tell us he was framed. I see my lights come shining in from the west and to the east. Any day now.
I really don't like playing when it gets to be -6. The fingers freeze, the feet freeze, and that's the worst part, actually. I'll do anything you ask, anything you want me to. I will look the other way. This is my studio. This is where I spend the winter months. Normally I'm performing and playing, and up till Christmas time. I have to get home because my wife insists. And then I spend the next 3 or 4 months here until April or May. It depends on the season. Sometimes I have gigs in April and go on the road, or May. When the weather warms up more or less, we formed up this band called Joyous Noise. 69 or 70, I think. This band, we started off with a big bang, and it was downhill from the moment we started off, because we started off with a big recording contract, and then we made a quick album, and then we had to make another quick album, and then we went on tour to promote these albums. We went on one of these rock and roll tours all around America from city to city. But we were young and idealistic and thought we could live together and play together and make music together and fuck together and drink together and eat together and all would be happy hippie harmony. Happy hippie harmony. So after some period of time, the band broke up. We just wasn't economically viable to stay together. Well, living in San Francisco, I had seen people playing on the street. I think what I'm going to do is take a lot of amphetamine and sit on the street corner in front of Fisherman's Wharf and play and see what happens. So that's what I did. Well, that was 30 years ago. To tell you the truth, I'm doing the same thing now, and I wouldn't change a moment of it.
This is a rabbit with his ass on fire. Stupid one, I think you'll like it.
Hi, it's going to be very quiet and very short.
What with that?
Everybody else uses them.
That's not allowed. You can play also without this.
You ever try to play a Stratocaster guitar without an amplifier?
I'm going to explain this one for you.
Oh, do me a favor, because we're on TV, so you have to explain
thank
it.
you for that.
And if I stay here and choose to politely disregard your information...
You won't do that. No.
Maybe
song.
2 songs.
No, one song.
Just 1.5. A very long song, about 10 minutes long? You're going to like the music. Where are you from? You like blues? You like rock and roll? You like country?
I already explained it to you.
Yeah, I know.
I know what you want, what you're up to. With the,
well, then you know what I'm up to, so
yeah,
give me a break. Cut me 10 minutes. Cut me 10 minutes.
No, not 10 minutes. Only one song.
One song?
Yes. Go ahead.
You're going to regret this in your later life.
Maybe.
I'm not everybody. I'm Dr. Harmonica. Well, I'm born in Chicago. Born in Chicago. Born in Chicago. Well, I was born in Chicago. Well, I was born in Chicago. Back in the USA.
Somehow it comes out that we buskers end up mixing up all the time with police. In Holland, where I live, after about 15 years of playing there, suddenly I started to get problems with police. It didn't go off the screen and off the newspapers for 2 whole weeks. Programs about me, this and that, until one of the town hall people said to me,